have to be dealt with by GCOM before they can make any sensible decisions. Because the allegations affect or purport to affect the votes in the box. So that is what we can agree on. I think we can more or less agree on. The decision GCOM will come to, well, we go into the realms of speculation because these are issues, some of which are still controversial. There are still even people arguing that people can't vote. Migrants can't vote and all that sort of nonsense. But effectively, at the end of the day, GCOM has to go into these complaints and deal with the issue. I don't buy it that these complaints have to be left to some sort of elections petition. I think that would be both. It would be illogical. And I would say stupid. Guyana has a situation. Hear what you are saying must happen. That the persons who are being accused of stealing must be given the instruments to prevent the government, in other words, the instrument to prevent the investigations from happening. We have seen it happen before. We have seen it happen where up to now the votes from the PPP, the petition of the PPP has not occurred. Where is it? We have seen it in the case of Sam Hines up in Linden. We have seen that the government of the day has the capacity to prevent the election petition, to prevent the courts from carrying out their duty on this matter. We have seen that. And it would be madness to ask, if I had the power to stop it, to ask me now to give the winning to someone who claims stole the votes, so that someone who would then have the capacity, as previous government has had, to prevent the election petition. So that sounds like me, like total madness.
But Dr.
Secondly, I don't buy it too, because Janet Jagan, remember they had a secret swearing in for her in 2001. When they went to the court for that injunction, the court didn't tell them, here, wait till the person swear in and then take your case to election petition. The court did not know that they were having a secret swearing in. And yet the court gave them an injunction. This court seized the matter. So you don't have to wait until the decision is made and all to have an election petition. The election to go to the courts or for GCOM to deal with this matter. GCOM could deal with this matter just like anybody right now if they have a problem. And that's why I got a problem in this country. People, everything is against the law. If something is against the law, the only persons that can determine that are the courts. Go straight to the court right now when the earliest opportunity and say, this is against the law, don't propagandize the law. We have too much of that. So my position is that GCOM will have to deal with this matter. How will it deal with it? As I said, I'm in the realm of speculation. But I recognize what happened here is what I know, and I'm not an executive, I know, by the way. But because I know was saying it all through the election. Essentially, we have two ethnic groups that don't want each other side to rule. But that is precisely, and therefore you need some other form of governance.
We'll get back.
I am hoping.
This is you, Justin, Dr. Jeffrey, but we must bring in Mr. Ralph Ramkran, former House Speaker, and the presidential candidate for the United Guyana, Mr. Ralph Ramkran. Good afternoon, Mr. Ramkran. We seem to have lost him. Mr. Ramkran.
Good afternoon, sir.
Oh, yes, we have got him. Mr. Ramkran, welcome you to the discussion.
Good afternoon, sir.
At a juncture whereby...
Can I complete what I was saying?
Here.
Go ahead.
Hello?
Man.
Go ahead, Dr. Jeffrey.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was making the point that the GCOM has it in its power to try to force some sort of compromise between these two people on behalf of, there's two parties on behalf of the Guyanese people. And I am hoping, that is what will occur.
Mr. Ramkran, we're at the juncture of the discussion where we're looking at the possibilities, what GCOM can or cannot do. As a veteran lawyer, a senior counsel, what are the options? Must this go to petition? Can GCOM in its own right deliberate and say, well, we have seen flaws, we have seen irregularities, therefore X number of votes should go, or whatever the case might be? What are the options open to GCOM legally to deal with these concerns that are coming from a partnership for national unity that they've been cheated of almost 90,000 votes?
Well, the only people who are talking about the votes now are the press and the key representatives of the Recount. We haven't heard from many what are. It appears that the PVP Henry is being invited for in or let's suppose
Mr. Ramkran, we have a bad connection there. We probably have to try to get you by another means and bring you into the discussion. So please do stand by. While we seek to bring back Mr. Ramkran into the discussion, I would like to perhaps ask Mr. Campbell at this stage, whether you think that these concerns about the bloated list, and Peter also, you have been opposed, sir, do you believe that these concerns are actually justified and that there are no safeguards in place to ensure that people do not vote on the names of deceased and people who are overseas?
Dennis, that's a minefield I try to stay away from. In relation to the claims,
one of the 4 points in the discussion.
No. I try to stay away from the minefield of the claims that are made. Those claims are out there, and as Henry rightfully said, and maybe I didn't touch on this point in greater detail, I believe it is within GCOM's managerial discretion to investigate. And if I were in the position of chairman, I certainly would, because ultimately the decision is going to be made by a commission headed by me, and so my legacy depends upon it. So I would take it within my managerial discretion to investigate the allegations that have been made, and in this case primarily by the coalition government. But once that is done, the GCOM would no doubt be guided by the fact that this is a long overdue election and with a long overdue result. So I don't think that GCOM would necessarily go through the extensive process that a court would go through in terms of determining irregularities. But I would expect that there would be some process at GCOM that would, and especially on behalf of the chairwoman of GCOM, that would guide her decision how to vote and how to certify these elections. So I actually wouldn't like to be caught up in the spin that comes from both sides, but would wait to hear from GCOM and from the CARICOM team, both of whom are would be intimate to the allegations being made, intimate to the process, having observed any inconsistencies, any irregularities. So I would prefer to wait. But I am absolutely sure it's within the managerial discretion of GCOM to investigate those complaints before a final declaration is made. Once that declaration is made, Henry did point out to the previous case where an injunction had been issued preventing the swearing in. In that case, and I don't remember all the facts, I am not sure that I think there was a request for recount which had been denied by the chairman at the time. But even if once a declaration has been made, I think it is unlikely that the court would wade in at that point to stop a swearing in, and I believe that the court would prefer to see matters then settled by way of an elections commission. And in terms of these constitutional matters, historically there has been a problem, and Henry raised two issues: the Sam Hines issue in Linden, which I think was out of the 2006 election, and the PPP petition coming out of the 2015 election, which have not been heard. These election petition matters ought to be heard speedily. Not so long ago, there was an election in Kenya, and the Kenyan Constitutional Court actually sat daily and ruled on that matter in less than a month. I do believe that the acting Chief Justice, and it is sad that we have to depend on a single individual and not the system to function in an efficient way. I believe the acting Chief Justice would not allow such a situation to recur if there is an election petition. But I don't want to take up all of the oxygen out of the conversation. It is within the managerial discretion of GCOM, and there is a demand on GCOM, it's a responsibility of GCOM to investigate the claims made by any side before they sign off that final declaration. One final point in relation to Henry. I don't believe the Constitution or anyone envisaged giving the power to GCOM to demand power sharing. I think that will have to be a practical matter to be agreed on, as we saw in the recount, for the main players in the political domain to get together and say, this is too controversial, our country is divided. The same way we call for a recount, let's talk about power sharing. Whether that is likely, I don't think so, because for power sharing, any kind of power sharing requires trust, and I think trust is at an all-time low between the two major combatants in this.
We'll get back to the power sharing points a bit later, but we will try to bring in Mr. Ralph Ramkaren again. Mr. Ramkaren?
Yes.
Yes.
I was saying that the Recount Board for an observation report, those reports are divided supervisor for each district. And the 10 reports are presented well. I think the CEO has to provide some kind of matrix. But the 10 reports, the matrices of the reports are submitted to the Elections Commission. And the Commission then has to consider the reports as well as the results of elections. The reports contain the complete on which the Commission can decide on the way forward. The Commission has the legal advice available to it. There's a lawyer. It has the representatives of the parties sitting on the Commission. It has the chairperson. And then they can all decide what is the course that there is required to be followed, whether with the legal course as well as any other course. I presume that the legal course is the one which will sway them as much as possible. But some investigation, what people have been saying, and Henry must have read this, is that the GCOM does not have the capacity to investigate. Quite apart from that,